Hey guys, it's Christian, and welcome to another update video for what Marvel Phase 5 needs to do. The reason why I wanted to make this video is because there's just been a lot of additional changes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with projects getting delayed, or projects being moved up in the schedule, or production just being shut down entirely. So I wanted to make this video just so you can stay updated with everything going on in the world of Marvel. So without further ado, let's jump in with What If Season 2. I wasn't the hugest fan of What If. I thought a handful of episodes were really great. I thought like the Doctor Strange episode was obviously the best one, and then maybe like the finale with the Guardians of the Multiverse was pretty cool, and even like the Captain Carter episode was also really cool as well. I think it was nice that they set up a lot of the events in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where we saw Dark Doctor Strange or Doctor Strange Supreme. We saw Captain Carter in the Illuminati, or at least that Dimensions version of Illuminati. So it's kind of nice to see that this wasn't just like a self-contained show or anything, but that it really kind of tied in to the deeper Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I appreciated that. When it comes to Season 2, I'm not like overwhelmingly excited, and especially since we don't really know what the episodes are going to be or anything. But I think one of them they announced is like Captain Carter goes against Steve Rogers when he's in that kind of mech suit and everything. So I think that could be pretty cool. I hope they kind of further explore the Guardians of the Multiverse, and then maybe have more Doctor Strange Supreme. I'm also excited for more of the Watcher. I hope they give kind of more explanation for him. Maybe they kind of talk more about the multiverse, kind of round out the events that were in Quantum Mania, and then kind of set up Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars with that. And another thing that I'm really excited for What If is just kind of more, obviously, what if scenarios with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know with the first season, they kind of centered around Phase 1, all the Phase 1 kind of Avengers characters. So it'd be kind of nice to see more kind of like Phase 2 and 3. Maybe like what if Thanos won at the end of Endgame or something, or what if the Avengers got attempted by all the Infinity Stones or something and it became evil, something like that. But yeah, just like other kind of what if scenarios. And I know there was like another episode that was, I think was cut from Season 1 because of, COVID happened and they weren't able to finish production quickly enough with all the delays and stuff. So I think there's like a Gamora Tony Stark episode. And then after watching Season 1, I noticed that there was kind of like a missing piece to that, where like Gamora and Tony kind of show up and everything. It's like, oh, where'd they come from? Because they were on their separate adventure. So it'd be nice to finally see that episode play out. But yeah, overall, I think What If's like a fun concept. I think if they really delve more deeply into the multiverse and, the Watcher, and kind of set up future Avengers films with this show, I think it'd be really cool. Maybe have more like serialization with the show instead of having a bunch of one-offs and everything. I don't mind like one-offs within What If and everything, but I just hope that there's more like, serialization, more connective tissue within the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, instead of just like, oh, this is just like a fun, one and done episode. Oh yeah, and then lastly, I think it'd be nice to see more of like, what if the Watcher interfered with different events? Because I know he's supposed to be, the Watcher, he's supposed to be observant of what's going on, and he's not supposed to get involved with certain aspects of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But it'd be nice if, he broke his oath every once in a while, and we get more consequences of his actions. If he like interfered with like the first Avengers movie, or like with Age of Ultron or something, and get more kind of like repercussions of his actions, I think that would be really cool. And then, maybe if he pops up in an actual live action Marvel movie, I think that'd be cool to, see Jeffrey Wright in his Watcher garb and everything. Because I know they showed a little hint at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 of the Watcher, where Stan Lee is like talking to the Watcher. So we've seen live action Watchers, so yeah, it'd be nice to see Jeffrey Wright in one of them, and then see how that kind of ties into the larger MCU. Hey, jumping in again. So we actually just got a couple updates with What If Season 2. We finally got a brand new trailer, and it actually looks pretty good. Like I said before, I was like kind of a fan of What If. I wasn't a huge fan of the entire season, but I liked a couple episodes here and there. But this trailer looks like there's going to be a lot more What If scenarios, kind of like what I was saying earlier. And yeah, overall, yeah, I'm pretty excited to see it. Again, I don't know how much this is going to tie into the larger MCU. The first season of What If kind of just had a couple episodes that kind of tied into other films that were produced later on as Phases 4 and 5 went on. But with this one, it doesn't really look like there's going to be too much connection. I don't see how any of this has to do with Kang or Secret Wars or anything like that. But again, we'll see. We don't know what all the episodes are going to be about, and we don't know if there's going to be any Easter eggs that hint at future Marvel titles, but hopefully we'll see. Or it might just be just a fun self-contained stories that have nothing to do with the larger MCU, and will just great to watch moving forward. So we'll see what happens with that. Another update is that we actually got the release date for it. It's going to be coming out on December 22nd, and it'll be 9 episodes. And what's interesting about this one is that a new episode will be coming out every day until December 30th. So that'll be interesting. It'll be the first Disney Plus series that does that, to be released on a daily schedule. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, overall, I'm a little bit more excited for What If Season 2. Again, I'm not really expecting too much. I don't think there'll be any real connections to the larger MCU, but yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to just see more What If scenarios. It'd be cool to see Tony and Cap and all these other characters that we loved from Marvel Phases 1 through 3 in the series. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, and then we move on to Echo. This one I'm pretty excited for. I'm not like super overwhelmingly excited about it. I really liked the character of Maya Lopez in Hawkeye. I thought she was a really interesting character, not only the fact that she's deaf, but she's also, like an amputee and she's Native American. I think bringing in those kind of demographics into the MCU would be really, really cool. But yeah, I'm really excited to see it. I think one of the biggest things I'm most excited to see is the fallout after the events of Hawkeye, where, or spoiler alert, she took the gun and like shot Kingpin, and I guess he survived because, the camera pans up. We don't technically see what happened to him, but I guess news reports are saying that, he's going to be blinded, at least in one eye, and then he survived and got away. So it'd be nice to see what happened to him, set up the seeds for Daredevil Born Again. So I'm also excited. But as for this one, this one's supposed to center around Echo's familial ties to the Native American culture, and I think that would be really cool because that's something we haven't really seen in Marvel Cinematic Universe, is kind of like Native American culture, or just films in general. We don't really see a lot of that, so it'd be kind of nice to see how she kind of goes from the head of the tracksuit mafia and then kind of coming back into kind of this normal life on this Native American reserve and everything. Obviously, she's gonna kind of be drawn back into the action because Kingpin's not gonna like lay down quietly and everything. He's obviously gonna come back and retaliate. It'd be really cool to see how she's trying to adjust back to her culture, and then suddenly this impending threat comes on to her land and her people, and she has to really become like a hero. I'm not really sure how it's gonna tie into like the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like I assume she's gonna be a hero and then fight alongside the Avengers and everything. But yeah, I guess that's the only thing, is like I don't really know if this is gonna be more self-contained or if this is gonna like really lead into Secret Wars and King Dynasty. Like honestly, I'm not really familiar with her character at all in the comic books, so correct me if I'm wrong, if she's more front and center in the comic books and everything. But at least as far as the movies and films and stuff, I'm not really sure how she's gonna tie in. Like maybe there'll be like a cameo from Hawkeye or from Kate Bishop's character, and they kind of like tell her about the Avengers, like, oh, there's this initiative and we need more recruits. So I think that'd be cool because like she was a really interesting character in Hawkeye. Yeah, she kicked a lot of butt and took a lot of names. So yeah, I think she'll definitely be a formidable opponent to whoever she takes on in any films or series moving forward. I hope they go more into her past and everything, her relationship with Kingpin and the Tracksuit Mafia. I know they kind of hinted at it a little bit in Hawkeye, but kind of like Secret Invasion, maybe they'll do extended flashbacks to how she got involved in this mafia and how she kind of rose up in the ranks a little bit, kind of explain more of like her family, explain more of her father, explain more of like the betrayal of Kingpin to her father and the whole kind of revenge aspect to that. But yeah, just get more of like who Maya is as a person, how she deals with, being deaf, how she deals with, being an amputee, obviously being, Native American culture. Because yeah, we didn't really get a ton in Hawkeye, which was understandable. It was about Hawkeye and it was about Kate Bishop, and she was kind of more of like a side character in that. But she was definitely interesting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see just more of her, more of like a show that just centers around her. Yeah, it'd be cool to see more like ASL in the show as well. Just kind of like bringing, the deaf community and everything. So yeah, I'm looking forward to her character. I think she's just very, very interesting. Like I said before, I don't really know too much about her from comic books, but yeah, so we'll see what happens with the show. I'll give more explanation to her, and yeah, we'll see. I know there's going to be like a possible storyline with Matt Murdock searching for Jessica Jones, which would be amazing, just because clearly Daredevil is like one of my favorite series. Like the Netflix Daredevil, like those first 3 seasons were amazing. Jessica Jones was fine in my opinion. Definitely wasn't as great as Daredevil. That was definitely the highlight. But seeing them kind of bring in the Netflix Marvel heroes into the show would be really, really cool, especially Jessica Jones, because like even though like I wasn't a huge fan of the show, I thought Jessica Jones as a character was great. So kind of seeing her brought into the Marvel Cinematic Universe now with Matt Murdock, with MCU's version of Matt Murdock, would be really, really fun. And then maybe if they bring in more like like Luke Cage, maybe Iron Fist, bring in the Defenders, maybe that can be like the storyline for Daredevil Born Again. But I know that's going to be like a little hint for that show, so we'll see if they do that. But yeah, I think that'd be really cool to kind of bring in those characters a little bit more of like the darker Avengers characters into the MCU. But yeah, overall I'm excited for Echo. I think she's a really interesting character, and I look forward to seeing her have her own series and how she kind of ties into the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe in general. So we actually got a couple updates for Echo. The first one is that it actually got confirmed to be coming out on November 29th of this year, and apparently it's going to be dropping all of its entirety on the same day. So there's been kind of rumors that either Disney's trying to switch to a model where they put all the episodes on at once, kind of like Netflix, but there's also other rumors that the show might not be that great, so they're just trying to drop it all at once so they don't have to kind of stretch it along for several weeks at a time, kind of like with She-Hulk, where if you want to hear my thoughts on that, you can watch that previous video. But obviously that show wasn't really that great for me and a lot of other people as well. So I'm sure like Disney and Marvel are trying to cut down on all like the hate that they might get by stretching on a show for several weeks at a time and try to put it all down at once. As of this recording, there's been a lot of like more shakeup at Disney, especially with Disney Plus, of like Bob Iger and a lot of the other kind of higher ups are taking shows off the platform just so they don't have to pay for residuals to the creators by having a show on Disney Plus that no one's really watching. So maybe this is kind of like their experiment with that to see like if people like Echo, maybe they'll keep it on the platform, but if they don't, you know, everything was all just in its entirety and then people don't like it, they'll just kind of boot it off. But yeah, we'll see. Hey, jumping in. So we actually just got a bunch of updates for Echo as well, including a brand new trailer, and it actually looks really good. I know a lot of people don't know about the character of Echo, including myself, but as I said earlier, I think her introduction in the show Hawkeye was actually really good. I know a lot of people didn't really care much for Echo, but you know, I'm willing to give her a chance. Like I said earlier, there were a lot of rumors back in the day about the show being unreleasable and just getting all this bad press and everything, but I think this trailer flips the switch on that. You know, it really shows the tone of the original Daredevil series, especially with opening with Kingpin beating up on that guy for bullying on Maya Lopez because she's deaf and everything. And yeah, it looks dark, violent, and you know, speaking of violence, now this is going to be the first MCU Disney Plus show that's going to be TVMA, so I think that's really going to set the tone of Disney Plus shows moving forward. And the fact that this is going to be Marvel's first spotlight show is going to be really telling. So I think that's something that Marvel really just needs to do, is that they kind of just need to separate the larger MCU stuff from these kind of small, relatable characters. So I think they're doing a really good job with this whole Marvel Spotlight segment. So hopefully we get more of that stuff in the future. Yeah, I think kind of like what I've been saying earlier, you know, especially phases 4 and 5, a lot of things have been really disconnected, and a lot of shows and movies, you think it's going to tie to larger MCU, but it doesn't. You watch the entire series straight through and there's no Easter eggs or references to what's going on, like with Kang or Secret Wars or any setup like that. Or you just watch everything straight through, you get to a post-credit scene, there's like nothing that sets everything up. So like I said before, that's like really frustrating. So I'm glad that they're kind of starting to segment the movies and the shows and making it more so that you don't have to watch every single thing. You can just pop into Echo and then just watch that and not really have to worry about, oh, how does this tie into larger MCU or anything like that. So I'm glad they're doing that. So I think that's actually a really good idea. And another update is that's going to be 5 episodes. So I think that'd be interesting. Usually Disney Plus series are 6 episodes or 8 episodes or even 10 episodes. But yeah, we'll see what happens, what they do with 5 episodes, and we'll see how long the episodes are. But hopefully they're all good. Like I said before, they're all going to be dropping all in its entirety on January 10th. So it'd be cool if they're all really good, just to like binge them all in one day and get the whole series that way. So yeah, we'll see how it goes with that. But overall, yeah, Echo looks really good. I'm glad that they had Kingpin as a focus because he's the most recognizable character probably from the show. And I know there's a little hint of Daredevil in there. But yeah, I'm glad that's going to be more of like a relationship between Kingpin and Maya, like the fallout that happened with that after the events of Hawkeye. And then just her dealing with all this stuff on her Native American reservation and all these tracksuit mafia, all this stuff. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But overall, yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm not going to hold my breath if it's terrible, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. So set your accounts for TVMA because yeah, this is going to be pretty intense. Hey, just jumping again. So I actually forgot to mention in my previous videos about Deadpool 3, I actually honestly didn't even know that I was going to be officially part of the MCU. I know that Marvel acquired Deadpool 3 and everything, but I didn't know it was going to be part of the larger MCU. So yeah, that's going to be really, really exciting. Now, I was actually a really big fan of the first 2 Deadpool movies, so it's going to be really interesting seeing that character within the MCU. And, you know, according to Bob Iger, you know, he's going to keep the R rating for Deadpool 3, so that's going to be really cool. So Ryan Reynolds is just going to do whatever he wants for Deadpool 3. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of like meta humor and bashing of the multiverse and, you know, I guess maybe like the up and down quality of the MCU Phase 5 and everything. And, you know, the fact that Disney bought Fox and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm actually really excited for it. I guess the only downside is that, you know, due to the writer's strike and the actor's strike, production got shut down on it. And originally it was supposed to come out in May of next year. But yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Before the whole shutdown, it looked really, really good. You know, I know Hugh Jackman's been confirmed to be returning as Wolverine in this movie. So that's going to be really cool. And then all those set photos of him in the yellow suit, because that was like one of the downsides of the original X-Men movies, is that, you know, he was always in a black suit or like a black suit with little yellow hints in it. But with this movie, they're going to just go all out with the original yellow Wolverine costume. So I think that's going to be really cool. So I'm really excited to see that. And it looks like all the original cast members from the previous Deadpool movies are going to be returning as well, like Marina Baccarin as Vanessa, Brianna Hildebrand as Negasonic T.J. Dwarhead, Leslie Uggams as Blind Owl, Karan Sori as Dopinder, Stefan Kapikik, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, as the voice of Colossus, Sheila Kusuna as Yukio, Rob Delaney as Peter, and then additionally Jennifer Garner has been cast as Elektra. And I haven't seen the original Elektra movie, but you know, it was a pretty historical event at that time because a lot of women didn't have lead roles in superhero movies. So even though the movie didn't do well, I'm glad that she was able to kind of pave the way for female-led superhero movies. So I think that's really cool that they're going to bring her back into the fold here. And kind of like what I said earlier, I'm sure they're going to have a lot of meta references to the whole multiverse and that they're bringing all these different characters from all these different Fox movies into the MCU via Deadpool. So who knows if there'll be more surprise cameos from other Fox movies, or, you know, if Ben Affleck will cameo as Daredevil. Probably not. Probably Matt Murdock. But yeah, we'll see what happens with it. Hey, jumping in again. So the biggest update with Deadpool 3 is that finally finally, with the writer's strike and the actor strikes over, production can now resume on Deadpool 3, and it looks like we're going to be getting it on July 26th of 2024. And originally it was going to come out in May, but then due to the writer's strike and the actor strike, Captain America Brave New World had to be taken off the schedule, and now it's been rescheduled for February 14, 2025. So now Deadpool 3 is going to be the only MCU movie coming out next year, so I think that'll be interesting. But, I think this is actually probably good for Marvel because, with the flop that was the Marvels, I think people are just really starting to kind of get that MCU fatigue. So I think what Bob Iger was saying before about them kind of slowing down on productions and having more time in between release dates, I think this is probably the best thing for them, and just having one movie that they can focus on that's probably going to be guaranteed like $1 billion movie, especially since one, it's the only Marvel movie, and then two, it's a Deadpool movie, so people are going to like that, and then three, you got Hugh Jackman in it, so that's going to bring in all the money right there. So yeah, maybe this is a good thing for Deadpool 3. Hopefully it's good, and I feel like that it will be. The first two Deadpool movies were great, and then Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds have been making great movies together ever since. So yeah, I'm actually really excited for Deadpool 3, and I feel like it's kind of like our only hope for the MCU at this point to really turn things around. And yeah, hopefully that there's, like I said earlier, there's a lot of like meta references to Disney buying Fox and now Deadpool being part of the MCU, and like all this multiverse madness stuff going on and everything. Hopefully there's a lot of like jokes towards that. But yeah, overall I'm excited. All right, now we move on to Captain America New World Order, another one that I'm really excited for. As I said to come before in my previous video, Falcon and Winter Soldier I thought was fine. It really could have just been a movie in my opinion. So I'm glad that for New World Order that's actually is going to be a movie, which I think is totally going to continue the storyline that left off at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, where Sam Wilson is kind of accepting the mantle as this new Captain America, and now he's the Black Captain America, and then all the baggage that comes with that. So I think that's going to be really cool to explore. And then the kind of aspect of the fake news and everything being in this New World Order, and kind of seeing him deal with that would be really fun to explore. And then obviously the side characters, like the new Falcon, Joaquin Torres, who will be Sam Wilson's kind of like sidekick, kind of seeing how he kind of deals with being in this role. And then obviously like Isaiah Bradley, I'm hoping that he'll become like a really cool like mentor figure for Sam Wilson of like, hey, maybe this Black Captain America and everything, but here's all the baggage that comes with it. Because I dealt with being a super soldier and then, kind of was experimenting on, and then kind of got casted aside, which they hinted at in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm excited to see him kind of brought into a New World Order as this kind of like mentor figure to Sam Wilson, and kind of as he kind of deals with this new role of being the new Captain America and everything that comes with that. And I'm also excited to see Samuel Stern, aka the leader in this movie, because I know he was hinted at way back in the day in The Incredible Hulk. So it'd be kind of nice to finally see him brought into the MCU again, just because there's like a lot of like characters that they had from The Incredible Hulk. They kind of just left on the sidelines, but then slowly but surely they started bringing them in, like, Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, Abomination, Emil Blonsky, kind of bringing all these characters back in. So it's kind of nice to see like, hey, Incredible Hulk is actually relevant to the MCU. Because I know they hinted at his character at the end of Incredible Hulk, where, he gets his head knocked against the machine and like the little serum is kind of going into his injury and everything, and then his head's expanding. So it'd be nice to see that. Again, I don't really know too much about the leader from the comic series, but just seeing that little hint at the end of Incredible Hulk seems like, oh shoot, this guy is a little loco. So yeah, it'd be cool to see how he kind of ties into the MCU, how he ties into Sam Wilson's storyline, and how he becomes either like antagonistic or an ally, and how he kind of fits into like the tone that they're trying to set with this movie. So we actually got confirmation on a couple of cast members for Captain America New World Order. There's an actress named Shira Haas who's going to be playing a character named Sabra, who's going to be an Israeli superheroine. So I'm guessing she's going to ally with Captain America, and they're going to be kind of trying to face this New World Order with all the villains and everything. And then we actually got confirmation that Liv Tyler is going to be in it, and she played the character of Betty Ross in The Incredible Hulk. So kind of like what I was saying earlier in the video of how Marvel is kind of making The Incredible Hulk relevant again by bringing all these actors back. So it'd be really cool to see her role in this, and maybe we'll get a Bruce Banner cameo in it or something, but it'd be really cool to kind of like see those characters from that movie back in 2008 brought back into the MCU. And then like one final thing, maybe they'll have like more of like Thunderbolts hint. Maybe it'll be like a post-credit scene kind of set up that movie, because Bucky Barnes is going to be in Thunderbolts, as well as Sam Wilson and Val, and they were all characters from Falcon and Winter Soldier. Kind of cool to see like connective tissue between those two movies as well. Kind of see like, hey, yeah, whatever happened to Bucky, maybe this can be like a post-credit scene to set up the Thunderbolts. So yeah, it'd be nice to see that. Yeah, and also be cool to see Harrison Ford replacing William Hurt as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross as well. Just because obviously I'm a big Harrison Ford fan. Han Solo, Indiana Jones, Blade Runner, everything. He's great. So to see him in the MCU would be really cool, since he's already technically part of the Disney family. So to see his debut as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross would be really cool. And then maybe if they have a hint at like Red Hulk, because I know that's a big aspect in the comic books. I don't know if they'll do it, because I know they don't technically have the complete rights to the Hulk. Maybe down the road or something, since at the end of She-Hulk they hinted at a World War Hulk or a Planet Hulk storyline.
storyline with Scar and with Bruce Banner. So maybe we'll see what happens with that. And if they ever do like a second season of She-Hulk, which if they do it, maybe they'll hint at Red Hulk for that one as well. Again, that's all speculation. They probably won't do it. Maybe they'll have like a hint of it, and then maybe they'll save it for Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars or something. The idea of a Red Hulk, which would be kind of cool. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But overall, I'm really excited for Captain America New World Order. It'd be really cool to see just a new Captain America. Not only just the next Captain America movie, but just a new Captain America with Sam Wilson in that role, because he was great ever since Winter Soldier onwards, just being really loyal to Steve Rogers and respecting his legacy. Because Steve Rogers, Captain America, is my favorite character in Marvel phases 1 through 3. And then Sam Wilson is clearly the best man for the job. I know Bucky was also kind of in the running for that, but clearly he's a murderer, so maybe that's not the best person to replace you. So yeah, I think Sam Wilson's definitely the best person for the job. And I've been looking forward to seeing him as a new Cap since the end of Endgame, with that whole tag at the end, and then seeing his arc in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then finally resolving in Captain America New World Order, seeing like the fallout and all the baggage that comes with being the new Captain America. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that one. I think it can be really good.
Hey, jumping in again. So the only real update is the title change. It's going to be Captain America Brave New World instead of Captain America New World Order. And I actually think that's a better title, because New World Order just seems very negative and just very paranoia and like government control and all this stuff. But with Brave New World, it really seems like more positive. Like obviously with Sam Wilson being a black Captain America, he wants to have a brave new world, with him, not only the new Captain America, but a black Captain America, like I said earlier. But yeah, I think that overall it's a really good title, and yeah, I can't wait to see it. Hey, jumping in again. So for Captain America Brave New World, there's not any real updates. The only one that I kind of said earlier was that its release date was been moved to February 14th of 2025. So we'll see how that goes. I've heard rumors about a lot of like reshoots to make the film better. So I think that could be actually, like I said before, really like a good thing, especially with all this continuity issues and, all these storylines that aren't getting followed through within the larger MCU. Maybe this will be a good thing, and then maybe they could use this film to kind of reset the MCU and maybe point things in the right direction. Because again, I heard rumors that they're probably going to drop the whole Kang the Conqueror storyline, and that maybe there's rumors that Doctor Doom is going to be the new big bad of Avengers Secret Wars, and that they'll just drop Kang Dynasty entirely and make Avengers Secret Wars a two-parter, which I think would be good, just because it stays more true to the comic book with Doctor Doom being the main villain. So yeah, they really just need to put more focus into Captain America Brave New World and the upcoming Fantastic Four movie to make those films great, and Thunderbolts if there's more tie-ins with that movie. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like I said earlier, I think having time between the release dates and time to breathe and time to reassess what they have with the MCU is actually a good thing. So it looks like we've got to wait till February for Captain America Brave New World, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
All right, then we move on to Agatha Coven of Chaos. I liked Agatha in WandaVision. I liked her up until like episode 8. Episode 9 she kind of became like the typical Marvel villain of like throwing her her purple energy at Wanda, and became just like this big CGI battle. Well, I think it would have been interesting if at the end of episode 8 of WandaVision, instead of her becoming like the main villain, fighting Wanda, maybe she became Wanda's kind of dark mentor in a way, and like she introduces more of like the Darkhold. She kind of snaps Wanda back to reality. It's like, hey, you created this reality in Westview with this fake Vision and fake Tommy and Billy, but hey, I can tell you about a dimension where you can visit the true forms of Billy and Tommy. You can be with them. And that could have been a cool episode 8 twist where they actually have to form an alliance to kind of figure out more of like the dark magic and have her become the Scarlet Witch, and tap into like the dark side, and tap into like those multiverse aspects and everything. So I thought that would have been cool. Clearly didn't happen. They kind of had their big battle, and then Wanda turned her back into Agnes, and she was like this normal nosy neighbor and everything. So it'd be interesting how they're going to tie that in. I don't know if it's going to be a sequel or a prequel. If it's a sequel, then they'll have some things to figure out. But if it's a prequel, I really liked the flashback episode in WandaVision where they showed how Agatha became, this dark witch, and, just wiped out all these other witches and everything. So if they have a series just kind of explain like her origin, how she became this dark witch, how she got a hold of like the Darkhold, how she kind of sensed Wanda, I think that would be really, really cool. We'll see what happens with that if it's a prequel. But if it's a sequel, which I think it might be, honestly, I don't really know where they would go with it. But yeah, I love Kathryn Hahn. She's a great actress. I loved her back since Parks and Recreation. Her character in that I thought she was great. And then obviously all the comics that she's in, like Anchorman, and even in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where she played Doc Ock, that version of Doc Ock. I thought she was great. So whatever she's in, I'm game for it. It just depends on what the story is. Yeah, because I know I was looking at the casting, and like Dottie Jones, kind of like the blonde woman in WandaVision, is supposed to be in it. So I don't really know what she's going to be doing. Maybe she turns out out to be like a dark witch or something, and she becomes like an apprentice. I don't really know. So yeah, like I said, I don't really have too much expectations for Agatha, Coven of Chaos, but I think if they lean into the prequel aspect, more of her backstory, I think that would be an amazing show. But if it is a sequel, then yeah, they have some figuring out to do. So, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with that one.
Hey, just jump back in with another update. So I found out that a bunch of actors have just been confirmed for Agatha, Coven of Chaos. Deborah Jo Rupp, who played Sharon Davis, aka Mrs. Hart, is going to be in the role as well, and that a bunch of Westview characters are going to be in it too. I also found out that the actress who played Agatha's mother in the flashback scene of WandaVision during that whole like Coven scene is going to be in it as well. And then just like a bunch of other actors are going to be in it too. I'm playing Aubrey Plaza, which is going to be awesome. I hope that she plays like a witch character or something. That'd be really cool. So yeah, it kind of gives me more grounding of like what the story could potentially be. I'm sure the spell on Agatha is like broken or something. Maybe after Wanda, spoilers for Doctor Strange Multiverse Madness, she gets killed off. So maybe due to her being killed off, the spell kind of lifts on Agatha, and then maybe she becomes like the witch character that she was back in WandaVision. Becomes evil again, and then maybe she contacts like all like the Westview citizens to kind of like rise up somehow. Maybe she teaches them how to become witches and warlocks themselves, and maybe they start like this kind of revolution or something. Maybe there'll be more like flashbacks to time with her and her mother, and maybe she'll be kind of like the new kind of Scarlet Witch of this new iteration. Maybe she'll team up with Kang and become like one of his right-hand women or something, and take over the multiverse and whatnot. So like I didn't really know too much about what was going to go on with this show, but just based on like this casting and stuff like that, it kind of gets me a little bit more excited, and hopefully there'll be more developments with the Westview characters and with Agatha, and we'll get more set up for King Dynasty and Secret Wars. So yeah, we'll see. So we actually got a couple updates for Agatha, Coven of Chaos. Looks like it'll also be pushed to 2024 as well. We also got confirmation with some of the casting. There's an actress named Patti LuPone. She's going to be playing a character named Lilia Calderu. Apparently she's a 450-year-old Sicilian witch who's a member of Agatha's coven, and she has skills in divination. We also got confirmation on an actor named Joe Locke, who's going to be playing a familiar, and Aubrey Plaza is actually going to be playing a witch in the coven as well.
Thunderbolts. We'll move on to that one. Looking forward to this one. I know this one will be kind of like the MCU version of Suicide Squad, and I think, having James Gunn, who directed the Suicide Squad, not the first Suicide Squad, which was but the Suicide Squad I saw was actually really good. So maybe if James Gunn, I don't know how involved he's going to be in it, or if he's going to be involved in it in general. I don't know if he is, but if he's kind of like comes on as like a writing consultant or something of like, hey, this is how you kind of form a team of anti-heroes. Like, not only did he kind of master that with the first two Guardians of the Galaxy movies, with having these kind of like anti-heroes kind of form a team, but he also did it with the Suicide Squad, and yeah, that movie was amazing in my opinion. So yeah, I think kind of bringing that aspect into Marvel will be really cool, just because you have Bucky Barnes and John Walker and Ghost and Alexi and Yelena and Val and all these like disparate characters that are just like on the fringes of the MCU, where it's like, oh man, how are they gonna kind of coalesce into one team and everything, which I think would be really interesting to see. So I definitely wasn't expecting them to make this kind of movie, because they first announced it at D23, and I was like, wait, they're doing a Thunderbolts movie? Because I know the Thunderbolts are big in the comics, and Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross is the one who's kind of like trying to form like the anti-Avengers who do like all the stuff that the regular Avengers wouldn't do. So I was like, wait, how are they going to do that? And then they kind of announced all these different characters that are going to be in it, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that'd actually really be really cool. So I'm glad this is a movie. I think it could have been cool if it was a series, and every episode kind of centered around a different hero on the team. But yeah, I'm glad it's a movie as well, because I mean, obviously all these characters are already established in other movies and series and stuff, so we already kind of know who they are. So to kind of just see them all kind of come together into this one team would be really cool. And then obviously seeing them in Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty would be really fun dynamic, kind of bending the rules in a way of like what it means to be a hero and what it means to like fight all these supervillains and stuff. So I think they'll have a really fun dynamic. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this movie, and I think it could be really, really good. But yeah, I'm already kind of imagining like the different character dynamics, kind of like how it was in the first Avengers movies, where all these characters just hate each other. Like, it'd be interesting to see Bucky Barnes and John Walker on the same team, how they kind of conflict, how Yelena and Alexi kind of conflict, because yeah, we've kind of seen them all in these separate movies and series, so to have them all come together would be really entertaining to see their interactions and everything. And then maybe they'll kind of tie it into Quantumania, since I know Ghost is going to be in this movie. Maybe the post-credit scene will be an interaction with Ghost and Janet, since they kind of had like this this alliance to kind of help Ghost kind of, get over her illness, her transparent abilities to kind of, solidify herself and everything. So it'd be kind of nice, like that would be like the hint to kind of draw them into this whole multiverse saga and everything, where there would be like a post-credit scene where like Janet mentions Kang and how they need more allies to face Kang in this threat, have that whole dynamic. But yeah, overall, I'm really looking forward to Thunderbolts. I think it'd be really cool. I mean, I love all these different characters that are on the team, and I think their dynamic just in general will be really fun, and then how they're kind of brought into the multiverse saga would be really, really interesting as well. So yeah, I think there's really a lot of hope for that one.
So there's actually been a couple updates with Thunderbolts. A writer named Lee Sung-jin is going to be rewriting the script, and originally it was done by a writer named Eric Pearson, who wrote Black Widow and Thor Ragnarok. So I guess he's just doing another pass on the script, probably due to Marvel's kind of tweaking of the different projects that are currently going on. And it looks like it's going to be a team up between the director, Jake Schreier, who they worked together on a show called Beef for Netflix. As for the casting announcements, Steven Yeun, who worked with Jake and Lee on Beef, has been cast in an undisclosed role. And then an actress named Ayo Edebiri, who's on the FX show The Bear, is also cast in an undisclosed role. So we'll see who they end up playing. Maybe they'll be good guys, maybe they'll be bad guys, maybe they'll be some kind of anti-heroes, kind of in the gray area. But yeah, I'm excited for these casting announcements, and we'll see what happens. And originally they're going to be filming in June, but then due to the writer's strike, production's been delayed along with other projects, which I'll get to in a second. Hey, jumping again. So the only real update with Thunderbolts is that it's been moved from December 20th, 2024 to July 25th, 2025. And yeah, there's not really much to report. They haven't started writing a script, or they haven't started filming anything, so there's not really too much to report. So I'm not really upset about it. I'm still really excited for it. Like I said before, like I really like the cast and everything and the whole concept. So we'll see how it goes, and then, having more time to write a good script and film it really well, and, just have good post-production process and everything, might be a good thing. So yeah, like I said earlier, I think this might be a good thing for Disney to really slow down, have time in between release dates to have the projects breathe, and make the films the best thing possible, and have everything tie in and connect and everything like that. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, this really the only thing to report on that one.
We'll move on to Blade. I don't really have too much to say about this one. I'm really excited to see Mahershala Ali in the role of Blade. I loved him in Luke Cage. He was definitely the best part. Or spoiler alert, they killed his character halfway through the series. I'm just like, what? And I think anything that he was in was definitely the stronger half. The second half of that season was just like, eh. But yeah, he was definitely the best part of that show as Cottonmouth. And then him as Uncle Aaron in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. He has that great voice, that intimidating voice, and then also as a Prowler as well. It was cool. So it was finally seeing him, as a hero in the MCU would be really cool. I haven't seen the original Blade. I've seen the second one, but I haven't seen the other ones. But I really like the tone, the aspect of those movies, kind of like the darkness, fighting off vampires and everything, and bringing in the fantastical side of the Marvel Comics into the MCU would be really fun, because I know they kind of hint at Moon Knight, and with Werewolf by Night, maybe they're forming kind of like the Midnight Suns. Again, I'm not really familiar with that storyline, but I know like a lot of friends of mine were talking about that, so I think that could be cool, kind of like where they kind of have like this dark Avengers universe where they can all kind of team up. You have werewolves and vampires and mummies and stuff like that in the MCU on a team. Like maybe this can be like their version of the Universal monster movie universe that they were trying to start with The Mummy with Tom Cruise, but that didn't go well. So maybe this is kind of like their version. It's like, hey, we're doing our own version here. Sorry for you guys, but at least we're succeeding. But they probably won't do that. But yeah, just seeing more tie-ins with Eternals, just because so far there's not really anything that's kind of hinting at Eternals at all. So I think kind of bringing them into the story would be really cool. Maybe like this is another aspect to bring them in, because of the post-credit scene of that movie was Blade talking to Dane Whitman's character, talking about the Ebony Blade, and kind of tying that in, because that's the tool that both their characters use in the comic books. I read up on that. Having them be brought into the story through this connection between Blade and Dane Whitman would be really cool. And then also kind of tying that into Adam Warlock, maybe having an alliance with Pip at the end of Eternals, kind of bring in those two worlds together. It'd be really cool. So you have like Adam Warlock, Pip, the Guardians, Blade, Dane Whitman, Eternals, all kind of forming this alliance, and then them kind of moving on into the larger MCU, and then facing Kang in Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars would be really cool. But I think Phase 5 is kind of what I wish they started up Phase 4 with. I guess Phase 4 was really just kind of the introduction to some of these essential characters, tying up loose ends from Phase 3 and then setting up stuff for Phase 5. But it's kind of nice to see like, okay, now things are starting to roll out with this multiverse saga. Things are finally starting to connect. Things aren't just kind of thrown randomly at the walls. Things are really, starting to come together. Yeah, I'm really excited to see that kind of connective tissue finally, and everything kind of come together for the next Avengers movies in Phase 6. So yeah, to kind of bring it back to Blade, I'm glad that they kind of have that tie-in to the larger MCU. But yeah, again, I don't really have too much to say. We don't really have too much to go on with what they're going to do with Blade, and I'm not super familiar with the character, so I don't really have too much to be excited for, so to speak. But I love Mahershala Ali. I think he'd be be really cool to be in the MCU. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see, what aspects he brings to the cinematic universe.
So there have been a couple of updates with Blade that kind of tie into one another. The first one is that a writer named Nick Pizzolatto has been hired to rewrite the script for Blade, and he was a writer for True Detective Season 2 that Mahershala Ali actually worked on. But then a few weeks later, the writer's strike happened, and he's actually not allowed to have any input for the story. And it's also been announced that the production's been delayed due to the strike. Hey, Gemini again. So only real update with Blade, that's been pushed from February 14th, 2025 to November 7th of the same year. And, like I said before, I'm not the hugest Blade fan, and, with all these production delays, who knows if Mahershala Ali is going to be even interested in continuing with the character of Blade. So we'll see that happens. I know they were in the middle of writing the script when everything got shut down, and now that the writer's strike's over and they can make a good script, finally they can get filming again, and especially with the actor strike over and everything like that. But yeah, it's one of those things where just like I'm just gonna believe it when I see it, and like I keep saying, like, I'm not a huge Blade fan, so if this project just keeps getting delayed or just never happens, I won't be upset about it. I know there's plenty of Blade fans out there, and I love Mahershala Ali, but if this project's going to keep getting delayed and he's not going to be able to film it, then what's the point? You can just take it off the schedule and then replace it with Fantastic Four for all we know. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that, and yeah, that's really all to report on that one. Okay, now we move on to the TBD projects, the projects that have been kind of taken off the main schedule due to there just being a lot of overcrowding with the films and series that were announced previously. So hopefully they'll get release dates sometime soon. We'll see how it goes. But for now, here are my thoughts for
Ironheart. Don't really have too much to say about this one. I really like Riri Williams' character in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I thought it was really cool seeing 2 black women in MIT, or I guess 3 black women in MIT, with like Okoye and Shuri recruiting Riri for this adventure. It kind of reminded me of Civil War, of Tony Stark recruiting Peter Parker's character to fight on his side, where this is kind of like the flip side, where at first it was kind of like 2, white men, and now it's like 2 black women, 2 genius black women interacting and everything. I think it'd be really cool to see, Riri's life within MIT, being this 19-year-old child prodigy, and kind of like the fallout after the events of Wakanda Forever, because I assume she's going to be like all of the news and everything of like, being in her like Ironheart suit, and everyone's going to be coming out the wazoo to like, get to know her and be friends with her and stuff. So it'd be kind of interesting seeing that whole dynamic, because I know there's been a lot of actors who've been casted in this series of like being like her friends and her enemies and her mentors. And yeah, speaking of which, I'm looking forward to seeing Jim Rash as like the dean of MIT, because I'm a big Community fan, so seeing him as the dean in that show and then seeing him as a dean in MIT would be really funny, just because I he had that cameo in Civil War, so it makes total sense that he plays a dean in another show. So yeah, I think that'd be really cool. I'm looking forward to like the tone of this show, just because how she was portrayed in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. She was kind of like this tough character, but she also had like this kind of comedic side, and obviously she's a genius and is good with engineering and machinery. So it'd be really cool to see that kind of like the flip side of Tom Holland's Peter Parker character in the MCU. And then the villain, the Hood, Anthony Ramos, big Anthony Ramos fan, Hamilton, In the Heights. It'd be kind of cool to see him in the MCU. And I know there's going to be like some kind of tension between them, like they're going to be like maybe allies and become enemies, where Riri kind of focuses more on like the technological side of the MCU, and then Anthony Ramos, the Hood, is going to be focusing more on like kind of like the magical, mystical side. So it'd be kind of fun to see, science versus magic. But I guess like earlier on in Thor, where it's in my world, magic and science are one and the same. So we'll see if they ever address that. But I think it'd be cool to see, a mystical villain against a mechanical hero. Be really a fun dynamic. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to seeing this. I know obviously we haven't seen any footage or trailers or anything for it, but just based on the casting and the premise and what we saw from her in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, it gets me excited for it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this series, and I hopefully, fingers crossed, it gets to season 2. But if not, I'm excited for 6 episodes and seeing her in the future of the MCU.
So the only real update for Ironheart is that it's going to be scheduled for 2024, and kind of like what I was saying previously, it's kind of part of Disney's strategy of kind of delaying projects and having some breathing room in between projects. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, hopefully, they'll use this time to make the show good, and because I'm really looking forward to it, and yeah, we'll just see how it goes.
All right, then we move on to Daredevil Born Again. Yeah, I'm really, really excited for this one. Just getting those little hints of Matt Murdock in the MCU, like in No Way Home, where he's like the lawyer. I mean, everyone in the audience just kind of like flip their lid for that scene and kind of finally see him, because yeah, as I said before, the first 3 seasons of Daredevil on Netflix were some of my favorite series. It was probably was my favorite Marvel Netflix series at the time. So to see him finally back in the MCU, I know he was in She-Hulk, which was clearly the best episode in that show. If you want to hear my thoughts, you can watch my previous video on that, but I won't dive into that. But yeah, just seeing him in the MCU, seeing Wilson Fisk as Kingpin, hinted at in Hawkeye, and then finally he's going to be in this Daredevil Born Again show. It's going to be really, really fun. And I think I read reports that they're not going to continue the storylines that they left off from the Netflix version. This is going to be a whole new story, clearly Born Again. So yeah, we'll see what the tone is for this one. Is it going to be like a lighter tone? Are they going to keep the dark aspects of the show? I think if they kind of like had a mixture of both, because clearly Marvel's not afraid to, have like a darker tone in their shows. Like Werewolf by Night was definitely very violent, where I was like surprised, like, oh shoot, this is on Disney Plus. But I mean, I didn't mind it, but I was just like, yeah, if you have kids watching the show, I was like, oh shoot. Just based on the tone they had in Hawkeye, kind of having like that kind of TV-14 aspect to the MCU, I think would be really cool, where it can be violent but not too violent, which I think they can do perfectly, just based on even like past movies, like Civil War, like Infinity War. There's like some pretty brutal scenes in those movies. Anything the Russo brothers touches, like you get that gritty feel. So having that in Daredevil Born Again, I think would be really, really cool.
Hey, just jumping in again. So I found out that John Bernthal is actually going to be casted in Daredevil Born Again, and he portrayed Frank Castle / the Punisher in the original Daredevil series. And I guess there's kind of like some discussion of like how violent is he going to be, how Disney Plus friendly is he going to be. And as I talked about previously, Disney Plus isn't afraid to go dark. Like I said before with like Werewolf by Night, it was like pretty violent and everything. So I think they're going to lean into kind of like the TV-14 aspect with the Punisher. So I think that would really, really cool. And then I know Vanessa from the original Daredevil series is going to be in as well, portrayed by a different actor this time around. So we'll see how it goes with that. And then I found out that the actress who played, Karen Page, and the actor who played Foggy Nelson are not going to be in the show as well. So that's kind of unfortunate, but I know like they're kind of trying to reintroduce kind of like the MCU version of Daredevil. So I guess with this version, like they don't really want to address too many things from the original series. Like I have a feeling they kind of want this to be more of like a Matt Murdock centric show with Punisher and Wilson Fisk kind of in the peripherals in it as well. So we'll see how it goes. I like those characters in the original Daredevil series, but I'm sure like with this iteration, they just kind of want to switch things up a little bit. I know there's like other actors who are cast in this show as well, actors that I'm not really familiar with, but I know some of them were saying like some of them are supposed to be like a love interest for Wilson Fisk, and maybe a couple other ones will be like a new ally for Matt Murdock or stuff like that. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see the Punisher in this new show, and yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I think what they can really draw from is kind of like the whole duality with Daredevil, where we have like, he's a lawyer by day, superhero by night, which they hinted at in No Way Home and in She-Hulk, but now they can really kind of get into that a little bit more, where She-Hulk, kind of failed. This can be part lawyer show, part superhero show, where, maybe every episode he's dealing with a different case, where, this can kind of be like the reboot, so to speak, of She-Hulk, which She-Hulk tried to do, where, it can be like a procedural drama in the first half of the episode, and like by the second half of the episode, it can be like he can be, taking on criminals and everything, and kind of show that duality. It's just like, okay, do I take on these criminals in court, or do I take them on in the streets with my fists? I think that would be a really cool, interesting aspect for his character. Charlie Cox is great. He's like, he hasn't made anything bad in the MCU ever since being in it, so I think he can bring a lot of like gravitas to that role, and then kind of bring that duality and that conflict that he has. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And then as for Wilson Fisk, I know this one he's going to be injured, so I don't know if this is going to take place before the events of Hawkeye, or if it's going to be kind of leading up to those events, or if it's going to just take place afterwards. But I think having the setup in Hawkeye, the through line in Echo, and then having a resolve in Daredevil Born Again would be really cool for his character. I don't really know what his arc is going to be in this. I don't know if he's going to be like a super huge villain bent on revenge for all these Marvel heroes, or if he's going to be like more humbled in a way, because he kind of had that side in the Marvel Netflix version, where he kind of had the sensitive side, with Vanessa, his wife. So yeah, maybe being shot by Echo will kind of humble his character a little bit more, and maybe he becomes like an ally for Matt Murdock, and maybe he kind of betrays him in the end because he wants all that revenge they had from the Netflix version of Daredevil. But yeah, I think it'd be a really interesting dynamic, have like that kind of Batman Joker relationship where it's just like are we allies or are we enemies? Or if this kind of joins Kang, in a way, I'm not really sure how he'll do it, but maybe he can kind of become more of like a ground level villain while Kang is taking over the overall multiverse and everything. And then maybe Fisk can become like an ally in Secret Wars or something at the last second. Maybe pull a Loki in Infinity War where he actually tries to go after Thanos, and Thanos kills him off in a sacrifice, or like Wilson tries to betray Kang and gives his life for Matt Murdock. But yeah, anyway, that's all kind of speculation. Kind of overall, I'm excited for Daredevil Born Again. Yeah, I think it could be a really cool just reboot to this character now in the MCU. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm really excited for that one.
So the only real update with Daredevil Born Again is that production might be delayed due to the writer's strike. There have only been reports that when it was filming in Queens that they had to shut down production due to the writer's strike and all the picketing that's been going on. Apparently they're hoping to conclude filming in November, but we'll see what happens with all the production delays due to the strike. So we'll see if they actually wrap up filming in time. If not, they might have to delay it to summer of 2024 or late 2024. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's only the real update with that. And that's the video. Thanks so much for watching. Overall, I'm still excited for Marvel Phase 5. So I'm hoping that with this whole new shakeup at Marvel with Disney spreading out the films and the series a little bit more, because you know, with Phase 4, like they were just piling on the different movies and shows and nobody really had time to like really watch anything through, and it just really felt like quantity over quality. So I'm glad that Bob Iger is stepping up and saying like, hey, you know, we need to either shelve some projects or delay some projects or have a little bit more breathing room between projects. So I'm glad that they're doing that, and I'm hoping that there'll be kind of like an upswing for Marvel, and that you know, they'll kind of be kind of like the conquerors of like, you know, the box office and everything like they were before, just more quality films and series. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and let me know what Marvel Phase 5 project you're looking forward to, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.